Hi and welcome back to the Ruby Tuesday. My name's Ruben. We're talking spoilers for Alice in Borderland Season 2. And then we're talking Episode 8 and 7 and the ending explained. So if you haven't seen Season 2 or you don't mind spoilers, then this is the place for you. Let me know your thoughts about the end in the comments below. Let's jump in. So now we know that the Blimps were all these specialized people who were previously players of the game, and they have chosen to stay and create their own game. And some of those are very mental, like we saw with the math game. I guess the scales, I thought that was an interesting game. Particularly episode 2 and 3, where we had our character, Kuin, let me pronounce it right, Kuna. The guy that was really stacked, that had his team that were a band at one point, and they created this game, and he's naked the whole time. I just loved his character. I thought it was really interesting that our main protagonist, Usagi and Arisu, kind of befriend them. Arisu and our main other protagonist from our group, Kuana, even though they're enemies, their friendship seemed like a nice character growth for our character, Arisu. And the way he had to basically force Tuta's hand, because Tuta's idea of becoming a man, and we have that flashback of him finally doing something because he felt that guilt and now he wanted to save them. That was another character growth bit for Arisu, understanding that death is just part of life and sometimes you do what you have to do in order to survive. But that moment was really harsh. I didn't want Tuta to die, but when he took off that bracelet that gave him more points, I thought it was a really nice bit in the story to understand what the stakes are going to be. Sometimes you can forget and all the death and our characters keep surviving, but when one of your group is kind of killed off, you're like, everybody's up for grabs. I thought the game Tio Prison was exceptional. I like what they did with the psychological warfare there with one of our main protagonists, and I thought seeing him having to outwit everybody, you totally believe then that he outwits everybody in the math game, even though that wasn't potentially his strong suit. He was reading people, and I like those reading games. Wondering if I would survive. I probably wouldn't, but I like placing myself in his mind particularly and going, I wonder what decision or how he came to that moment. It was a really interesting way to see, nasty way, when people were dying with acid, and how he outwitted the guy with scales, although he felt like he kind of lost because the guy with scales wanted him to live. So Anna, our forensic scientist, goes off to the edge of the map. I think this is something that I would do, and she finds that time works differently, accelerated plant growth, the landscape is wrong, compass is going crazy, and that gives the viewer an idea of something is very wrong, not just like this isn't Earth. This is like a landscape or things squashed together and things aren't working right. So we have an idea that this isn't Earth from that moment on. So it pushes us on edge, but gives us more questions. It's a nice bit of an intensity that the characters don't all know what's going on, but as the viewer, we have a special insight. But I was actually blown away by episode 7 when we have our interaction finally comes to a head. The dude that just seems like a Terminator and he can't die. And the group decide to confront them. We have our special guest, Oguni from season 1. We didn't think, or Ogani, how you pronounce it, we didn't think was coming back. Having him included, he's one of my favorite characters. And he's another character that seems not to be able to die. Although in episode 7, it seemed like everybody was dying. And that was just a brutal scene. I don't know if, like me, you shouted at the screen and went, no, that can't be right. How is this all happening? Like, all the characters we've been with just wiped out in that moment. I thought this is bonkers. But then we get to the parts where it seems like nobody wants to die and they're all dragging themselves over the floor, or they're like speaking to each other. The longest death scenes ever. Long enough for episode 8 to come in and having our two main protagonists, Arishu and Usagi, to confront the main game, which is croquet, but actually another psychological game that they have to beat. Which brings us to, what the hell is this and where are they? So it's revealed that an asteroid had decimated Tokyo, and in that moment, as they were all dead, they were all experiencing the Borderlands, and they wake up. All of them have experienced, those that have survived have experienced a cardiac arrest. Their injuries are because of falling debris from buildings and asteroids. Those that survived seem to know each other. Arisu and Usagi know they know each other, but they can't place where they know each other from. And it can all be coincidence up until that moment, just the fact that they kind of know each other and they experience something and they all have cardiac arrest and they all manage to come back in that moment, which was weird. And then the camera spans onto the table with all the cards. and you probably thought maybe it was just a joke and you didn't put any meaning into it. But hold your horses. So the cards blow off the table and we're left with the Joker. Now, if you know anything about Alice in Wonderland, you'll know like how deep does the rabbit hole go and the Joker storyline. But in the Joker storyline of the comic, the Joker is considered to be a deity. And in that moment, most fans believe that there is a deity, that in that moment when the asteroid hit Tokyo, he created this game. And I believe he probably keeps doing it as experiences happen around the earth. A deity of some kind is having Alice in Borderland's games, like these games, and allowing people to either stay in this land that he's created, an alternate reality of wherever they live, or leave it and come back and survive, which would be a classic Joker deity. There's a number of theories as to which deity it is, and you can look that up for yourself. But just think about the kind of the Greek myths, the Joker deities, that there are anyone that you can think of. There's a number of them, but that is what I believe is what they were saying with the Joker card there, that it was real, that they did experiencing something together, and their minds might have been wiped, but maybe they might remember. Even if they all don't, they had that cardiac arrest and they all seem to know each other and have a new lease on life. They have learned something. So let me know your theories down below. I'm pretty sure that's accurate. Thanks so much for watching, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long on Tuesday.